Good morning everybody and welcome to another glorious morning here in Cumbria. It really has been a spring to remember, and not just for all the wrong reasons. It's about 5:15 in the morning. The sun has already risen. I've been up for an hour and a half. I got up at 3:45 this morning, and that's because where I am, very close to the small little hamlet of Talbot on the edge of Ralfland Forest, is about a 45-minute walk from home. And so I was up nice and early because it looks like it's going to be an absolutely glorious day, and we've got clear blue skies. It could be a real cracker. As you can probably hear, it's actually quite breezy this morning. It's quite unusual. Normally it's very still in the mornings here, and then the wind picks up throughout the day, and that's generally why I like to come out and film in the mornings. It's actually quite cold. It's a real nip in the air, but I'm still hopeful for a good day. So what am I going to be doing today? So I am at the northern end of Ralfland Forest where I was in my last video. There are some hills and some craggy bits that I want to spend a little bit of time exploring this morning and seeing what there is up here to photograph. Let me explain a little bit about what I'm going to be doing today. If you saw my last video, you will know that I'm trying to minimize the impact that filming myself is having on my photography, and I'm quite excited this week. It's Monday morning, I've got a pretty clear week, so I should have lots of opportunities to come out and try lots of different things. And what we're going to do this morning, in a minute I'm going to pack my video camera away and I'm going to head off into the hills, and I'm going to photograph what I see. Very unusually for me, I have no prepared compositions for today. I'm just going to photograph what I find. And periodically what I will do is I will stop and I'll get the video camera out and I will talk you through the shots that I've taken. And what I'm hoping to be able to do is to tell the story of my walk through my photographs rather than filming any B-roll, which is quite intrusive into the photographic process. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll leave it there for now, pack you away, and then I'm going to head up into the hills, see if I can find something to photograph. Alright, so that's not really gone as well as I would have hoped. I think that's just sometimes, that's just the way that these things work out. Doesn't matter how much effort you put in, how optimistic you're feeling, sometimes things just don't go your way. And that's really what's happened to me this morning. I'm feeling quite optimistic when I started out, and the sun was just coming up. We're getting some lovely golden light. So I spent a little bit of time trying to find something to take a photo of, and it's quite difficult in such a barren landscape as this. I'm always trying to find something to fill the frame with some sort of interest, and there's lots of kind of rocky little outcrops which are quite interesting. And so I found one of those, and just as I was doing that, the sun went behind a bank of cloud, and it remained behind that bank of cloud pretty much for most of what we would consider to be golden hour, and we're looking for that lovely side light, that low light, that lovely warm light. And now the sun's come above that cloud. Typically the only clouds in the sky today are the ones that have been on the horizon blocking the sun. And it's a little bit harsh. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch from trying to shoot in colour and go to black and white. So in these conditions I find it easier to photograph in black and white. I think black and white is a little bit more forgiving when the light is harsh. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, even though I haven't been filming myself this morning, I still feel pressure to get a shot. And I got a couple of images that I think I'm reasonably pleased with, but nothing too outstanding. And yeah, even though I haven't been filming myself, I still find that pressure. And I suspect a lot of you can relate to that as well. You know, if you make this effort to get up early, to get out, there is that pressure to get an image. Otherwise, I think we feel that our time has been wasted. And I know that a lot of people will be also saying that, you know, it's not about getting an image, it's about coming out and enjoying the countryside. But I just don't agree with that. And when people say that, I don't really believe them. I think we all, you know, if we're going to make the effort, I think, you know, as photographers, we're going to want to come away with at least something. And so that's what I'm going to do now. When you're photographing, like I say, these big barren landscapes, you know, you're looking for some form of interest, something to fill the frame. And so I've gravitated towards these rocky outcrops, these hilly bits where the stone, the rock is exposed. I'm going to try and find something to create an image out of. Things have improved a little bit for me. I have at least got a couple of images that I can talk to you about now. This is quite a barren landscape, so what I was looking for is something that I can build a photograph around, and I found a pile of stones. And so that gives me something that I can put in the foreground. And then from there, I'm then looking for something in the midground and then something in the background. So I have a little hill in this shot off to the left-hand side, and then in the background I've got this clump of trees, which I'm kind of fascinated about. I wish I had a telephoto lens, shooting with the M50, only got the 15 to 45mm lens. I wish I had a longer lens so I could fill the frame a bit more with those trees, but never mind. Quite like this shot. It gives you kind of a flow through the image, so you start off with the stones and then you move on to the hill and then onto the trees in this. So there's a natural flow through the image, quite like that. Second image, I tried to use some of the cotton grass in the foreground, and this time in the background I've got that hill and the trees. Not sure if it works, can't see on the back of the screen whether or not the cotton grass stands out enough, so I'll have to see if I can't pull that out in post-processing. But at least I've got a couple of images so that my day isn't completely wasted. So from here, I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to continue to trace the edge of the ridge above Swindale. There's some cliffs over there that I think could be a really interesting subject for a photograph. So I'm going to go and check those out, and yeah, we'll see how we get on. It's about 10 o'clock now, and I've made my way about as far west as it's possible to go in Ralfland Forest, at a point called Fueling Stones, F-E-W-L-I-N-G, Fueling. And it's been about 5 miles since I left home, so it's not all that far when you think about it, but this is pretty rough country. There are no kind of lovely paths, it's mostly walking on sheep tracks, so it's pretty tough going. But I've got plenty of photos to go through, so we'll have a look at what we've got. I did make it over to that cliff that I was talking about. It was called Gowther Crag, G-O-U-T-H-E-R, Gowther Crag. And yeah, I think I've got a nice shot of that. I've got one in black and white, which I think is quite nice, quite shows off the crag quite nicely. And then I've got one in colour. Now the reason I did a colour one, because there was some gorse, which is in flower at the moment, so that's nice and yellow, and that provides a bit of colour contrast. So quite like that one. From there I headed on in the direction of Shap Pike, which is the closest of the Wainwright Fells to where I live. And I came alongside this wall. And I like this shot because the wall kind of leads as like an S curve, and it's a really exaggerated S curve as well, out into the distance, and then you've got Shap Pike in the background there. So yeah, quite like that one. And then we really probably come to what is possibly going to be shot of the day. So as I came round to the eastern side of Fueling Stones to try and find a little bit of shelter from the wind, because it's still quite windy, I came across these two sheep, and they were sat on a little rocky outcrop high up above, and you've got a great view out, and then you've got these sheep in the bottom left hand corner. I really like that shot. I took quite a lot of it, and the sheep were moving about. What I'll probably do is try and find the one that I like that's framed up the best, and then create a composite of that with the sheep positioned in the best way, if that makes sense. So from here, my plan now is to head south, and I'm going to be heading from here to somewhere called High Weather How, And then on to Scam Matthew. I don't know where they get these names from. I'm sure somebody will know. And we'll see what we get. And I will probably speak to you when I found somewhere sheltered from the wind around Scam Matthew. I'm actually on my way back home now. I did make it to High Weather How, but I didn't bother with Scam Matthew. It was a bit of a grassy lump of a nothing hill. So I'm heading home. I'm past Seat Robert, and I've been looking for somewhere to film that's out of the wind, because the wind is really strong. Now, whereas this morning it was a bit of famine, since then it's been a bit of a feast, and I've actually got loads of shots to talk to you about. So this one was taken between Fueling Stones and High Weather How, and it's of the view looking towards Seat Robert. And what I like about this shot is we've got the darker hills on either side, and that sort of draws you into the centre of the frame and off to see Seat Robert in the distance. And it's also got some of the cotton grass in the foreground, so I quite like that one. From there I actually dropped down a little bit and I came to this fence, and I quite like this shot. You've got the fence in the foreground, and then you've got the Mosedale fells in the distance, and I like the light and the shadow on the fells, and there's also a little bit of cloud in the sky as well, so that's another one that I quite like. Slightly longer focal length for that, it's probably at 45mm on this little lens, to try and compress perspective a little bit on that one. Now I really like this one. This is from the side of High Weather How, looking again towards Seat Robert, and we have these two rocks formations. We've got one in the foreground, we've got one in the midground, and it creates a kind of zigzaggy kind of pattern that leads your eye off into the distance and Seat Robert in the background, and I quite like that. I think the shot's got a lot of depth to it. I don't think this shot is a bad effort either. It's kind of showing how bleak and empty the area is, but there is still interest pretty much throughout the frame. We've got two rock formations, one on either side, kind of leading off to the distance, and then again Seat Robert in the background. And so your eye is able to move through the scene, starting with the rock on the right hand side, moving then to the left, and then back again to the background and Seat Robert. So that's not too bad a shot. Yeah. I've had a fantastic morning. I've really enjoyed myself, and I've taken loads of photos, loads more than I would normally, and I think I've got a few good ones. It's been nice to be able to focus on my photography and not have to worry too much about the video side of things. How this video will come together, I don't know. We'll have to see what it's like in the edit, and if you've got any feedback for the way that this video has been presented, then do let me know by leaving a comment below.